And in the new policies and procedures book that will be given to all, or issued to all students in September, you will see that there are some pretty strict guidelines in terms of not following social distancing, or not wearing a mask, or not following the daily health screening. So we're going to be working that through the conduct system, and we really hope that it's more educational conversations than anything else. But if we do see that students are really not complying with that, then we will be working those students through our code of conduct. As President Zupan has shared, and maybe has shared with this group today, Syracuse University had an outbreak due to a party, and they suspended students. So we certainly don't want to go that route, and we're really hoping students will really partner with us both on and off campus. Also, students have been encouraged to sign the pledge, Protect the Lux, which really outlines our expectations in terms of personal safety as well as safety for other folks. So I encourage you to take a look at that.
One other point that I would make to add to that is, as you're probably aware, off-campus parties around the village generally don't just involve necessarily mask violations, but they also involve noise and nuisance violations. As a result of that, the village police department will be on notice to patrol for those kinds of violations. And if they find violations for masks, they plan to report those to the college or university which those students attend.
The more this is targeted to our students, the more you can help us set the norm that this is just what we do to get through COVID-19. That'll be deeply appreciated. It matters a great deal to us. There's an old adage in the media business, if it bleeds, it leads. So the stuff at other colleges, the failures get the media attention. We don't want to go the route of UNC, where the outbreaks were tied most closely to partying. Notre Dame, you probably heard, suspended in-person classes for 2 weeks, similarly tied to off-campus partying. So we want to preserve as much of the old norm as possible, but we're only going to be as strong as our weakest link. And that's where we need all of you to help us set the norm. And something we shared with faculty, staff, this has helped me mentally, at least, maybe it helps you. Today, it's actually, because I was counting Thanksgiving and it shouldn't have been, the magic number is 99. It's the number of days between now and the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So if it helps you to take it in small steps, each day counts. And the more we can preserve the old norm over the 99, we'll be well served. How many days do you have to quarantine if you test positive, Kim?
Yeah, so you would be expected to quarantine for 14 days. And I see there's a second part, what happens at that point as far as continuing your education. You would be working with your instructors on being able to complete your work as long as you're feeling able to do so.
There's a question.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that there's a question from Saad, which I think is an important one. It says, if we see people violating policies, should the witness attempt to enforce that? Our perspective on that is we don't want to put anybody in harm's way. Our feeling is that if you mention to them that they should have a mask on, maybe they forgot it, that may be fine. You may feel comfortable doing that. But we certainly don't want you getting into a situation where you're in conflict with either another student or anybody else that you would run into in that situation. So I would say use your judgment. It's okay to ask them or remind them. But beyond that, I would suggest not to push it.
Tamara, we've got 2 questions for you here. If I had a visitor come up, would I be able to shelter them in my dorm while having a negative test for COVID? Softball there. And will there be any visitors allowed in the dining halls?
Yeah, so the visitor policy, I believe, stands for all of campus. We're really trying to limit any exposure to campus. In fact, if someone's coming to campus for, let's say, a tour or something like that, they do have to do a health screening at a safety checkpoint. Again, we would really, really appreciate not having any visitors to campus. We understand how that may make you feel and concerns that you might have about that. But again, I think the most important part for us, especially for the fall semester, is keeping the campus safe, as President Zupan says, to protect the bubble. And the way that we can protect the bubble is the most safest way is to really limit who comes in and out of our campus. So again, if it's an emergency and you need to have a visitor come up, you know, we understand that, but to really try to limit any type of travel that you would have to and from campus outside of a 60-mile radius, or having people come to campus. Again, we'd really like to limit them from going into the residence halls or into any of the buildings. So maybe meeting them in Hornell or someplace in a public area might be a better consideration. Or, as you all know, Zoom is a wonderful friend, and staying connected with people through Zoom or Skype is not always perfect, but it certainly is a good way to have that face-to-face connection with others.
Yeah, at least until we get a vaccine or a therapeutic.
Absolutely.
I've got one from an iPhone. I am in Texas and quarantining myself. Can I come to Alfred at the beginning of September when classes return to be in person, September 7th? Who wants to tackle that one?
Tamara, do you want to take that one?
That's actually, yeah, that's a fairly easy one to respond to, because basically in this situation, we have no latitude beyond the New York State guidelines. So what the guidelines say at this point is, once you leave a state that's on the travel advisory list, you must quarantine for 2 weeks in New York before you can go outside of that quarantine. So you would have to quarantine here before you would be able to leave your dorm and go to classes, etc.
An important thing to note there is if you're an on-campus student, you would not be allowed to move into your residence hall, again, because you would be bringing in an outside, you're an outsider at that point, because our students who are currently here or have arrived have either completed their quarantine or don't need to. So if the person from Texas would like to contact me by phone tomorrow, I'm happy to talk about some alternatives to getting that quarantine completed for you. So, and I'll put my email in the chat for you.
Is the mailroom open 24/7 so we can get our books? Kim, we just heard from some details on that.
Yeah, I was actually just looking for the email. The bookstore is going to be open for books that you need to purchase on campus. And then let me see if I can find the info about the mailroom.
I think it's going to be open both days this coming weekend, from what I remember, but I forget the hours.
Yeah, because it's not 24/7.
I believe the hours are going to be 3:30 to 4:30, Saturday and Sunday.
Thanks, Tamara.
Thank you.
Will labs such as the STEP lab be open in full capacity? Michael, do you want to tackle that?
That I don't feel prepared to do. Apologize for that.
Yeah, we're going to have to look into with our Dean, Gabby Gausted, and our faculty there, making sure appropriate social distance, and we're de-densifying appropriately. But we envision the STEP lab being open. Okay, I think, any other questions? I think we've covered them. Okay, we've got from Steve Pilgrim, one of our engineering faculty,
yep.
Will be open to full capacity. Will be open. Thanks, Steve. So Amelia, last week, you wanted us to make sure we got a glass alum. We did better than just one. You're still in Brooklyn, right?
I am.
Let me start off with the person that's responsible for you being to Alfred University, and we'll have each of these alums introduce themselves, offer one pearl of wisdom that they wish they would have heard before they started at Alfred University, And then if they're comfortable to share their email address so that if any of our students want to follow up and ask for further words of advice or networking, they can feel free to do so in the chat room. And Pearl is the appropriate choice for a class of 98 alum, Pearl Dick, who's from the Chicago area and has won many awards, has received national recognition on NBC News for using art to inspire and to heal. So Pearl, it's all yours.
Everybody, thank you so much for that generous introduction, Mark. And thank you for inviting me to be here with you guys today. It's really exciting, even virtually, to be kind of back in the Alfred sphere. And this is really cool that you do this for your students and give them a chance to voice questions and concerns and whatnot. So really, it's a trying time. I can't imagine trying to navigate my first year in college with all of this stuff, or any year in college with all of this stuff going on. So my first thing I'd like to say to everybody is, you know, more power to you. Don't let that fear get you down, and just be safe and be in it together. And I mean, it's very exciting that you all get to be there and go to school. So good luck. I guess, you know, by way of introduction, I'll just say that I'm in Chicago, and I work with a nonprofit here called Firebird Community Arts. We do lots of youth programming with kids here in Chicago. Project Fire, which I'm wearing my t-shirt. Amelia was one of our student teachers for Project Fire this past year, and that's a program working with young people who've been injured by gun violence in Chicago. So we view glass as a really powerful way for healing and for building community and safe space. So those of you who are involved in glass or know about that medium, you'll probably understand how that works. But it's a really special thing. I'm really honored to get to do this work. I guess, okay, so a pearl of wisdom, something I wish I'd known when I was at Alfred. I guess, like, I mean, one thing I would say is, like, really try to branch out into all the different classes and programs and things that you can get into. Like, there's so many opportunities there to, like, explore different mediums besides your own. I mean, I love glass, I love art, but I mean, there's so many great programs and so many great professors and so many great opportunities. Just do them all. Go explore every part of that campus and take every class that you can, take every elective that you can. Really just get as much out of that experience as you can, because it's like, I mean, it is a smorgasbord of knowledge and information for you to feast at. So, and take advantage of it, enjoy it. And yeah, that's all I got. Good luck, everybody. Thanks for having me here.
Thanks, Pearl. And Elizabeth's already put her information into the chat box. She's an 82 alumna. I do a lot of my holiday shopping and Valentine's Day shopping at her studio and shop in the Rochester area. More Fire Glass, a very accomplished glass artist. Her works makes high-end chandeliers, among other things, that retail to places like Barney's or Shakes in the Middle East. So Elizabeth, both of her parents also graduated from Alfred University. So she's a second generation graduate. So Elizabeth, it's all yours.
Well, hello, everybody. I just want to make sure that I'm working. You can hear me, right? Okay. Yeah, this is really kind of amazing to be here. I think this is going to be an interesting year, and I think that if the spring was any indication of what we can all discover about ourselves, the coming fall could be really interesting for people. I think that there's something cathartic about the quiet that we're all experiencing, and I think if you settle into it a little bit, you might find some pretty interesting discoveries, creative in particular. The studio is in Rochester, and when things settle down and people start moving around, you know, students are more than welcome to come visit anytime. I'm always happy to have students come and make a little field trip. And we're sort of plugging away. I mean, you know, everybody has a modification to make in this moment. When I think about Alfred, Pearl of Wisdom, I think in hindsight, you just have no idea how amazing it really is until you leave. It's sort of like hindsight is 2020. I think myself and other people that I work with who are also Alfred alum felt as if there are moments where you take it for granted. And I think that the program is so outstanding that if you're not making the most of every moment, you're going to regret it. So that's my pearl of wisdom.
Thanks, Elizabeth. And I saw Angus Powers was on this Zoom call earlier. Angus, are you there? Who's on our teaching faculty right now at School of Art and Design in the field of glass. Or did you drop off?
He's there, Mark. His image or his logo is there.
You're fine. Angus, it's all yours. Pearl of wisdom. Or maybe we'll come back to you. Okay, we've got a few trustees with us as well. One is from the class of 2004. He was our convocation speaker, convocation 7 o'clock this Sunday, virtually by Zoom for the new students. Matthew Washington served ably in that capacity in 2016. He's the deputy borough president of the borough of Manhattan. So he's had his hands full. He was, for 2 years, our student senate president and was incredibly involved in clubs and also on campus activities. And just it was fascinating to watch when he was our convocation speaker, the reaction of our faculty staff, because so many had connected with Matthew in various capacities while he was with us. He joined our board of trustees a couple of years ago. He's been serving ably in that role. He got married last fall down in Orlando. His wife, Sibby. And anyway, how the world has changed since that wedding, Matthew. So all yours.
Thanks, Mark, and it sure has been quite the world. I do want to especially thank Michelle Romanchuk, who gave me a virtual Zoom clap when I was being introduced. That was very kind of you, Michelle, who's an old friend and colleague. You know, this is 2020 has been quite the year, as all of us can attest to, and so unexpected. So many things are going on. Being here in New York City has been quite the adventure, and working in New York City government, focusing on trying to help people in the midst of the coronavirus and, you know, the challenges that has caused after seeing the murder of George Floyd and the spark of really civil unrest throughout this country, the world. New York City was certainly very active, and so much has taken place, much has happened, and so it's nice to think about continuing education and ensuring that education still moves forward and making sure we invest in education. And so I'm encouraged and thrilled that you all are moving forward with Alfred. I've been chatting privately with one of my former professors, Dr. Myers, so everyone sign up for anthropology class when you get a chance. You know, I just, you know, want to say what, you know, in terms of advice and what I would say, oh, there he is, advice that I would share. I think the advice that I would share in 2019 is different than the advice that I would share in 2020, because so many things have come up. And, I think one of the things that Pearl said earlier, which really resonated, was try different things out, take a class. I wish I'd taken a photography class, but I don't think I was cool enough to take a photography class at Alfred. Only those who are special get to do those kinds of things. But, really, I think, be true to yourself, and be real with yourself, and invest in those things that are important to you, and what's important to you today may shift tomorrow, and that's okay too. And don't feel like you've abandoned yourself because your priorities may shift, but just at all points, do that gut check, look in the mirror, and make sure you're on a path, make sure you're focusing on things that you can be proud of, and something that you can really build on, and whatever it is, have fun is really important. Study hard, but have fun with it. Enjoy it, and try different courses, try extracurricular, and challenge yourself to engage and interact in discussions that you may not have been a part of before, but really just be there, be present, and make sure you're present with yourself, and present with your friends, your professors and staff, and just enjoy this moment in life, which can be a challenging thing to say because so many of us have experienced loss and other things, but find the silver lining moments. As Mark mentioned, I got married in October, and with everything happening, I lost my uncle due to the coronavirus, and so much has happened. But I think about this time, and, working, for the past 5 months, I've been able to spend every day with my wife. And early on in our marriage, that's been really special for us in a strange way. But we've been in our apartment, and for anyone who's been to New York City, they're pretty small. So it's there's not much space to go. So we just sort of hang out next to each other all the time. And it's been a special time for us to grow together very early on in our marriage. I'm surprised she hasn't thrown me out of the apartment yet, but we've been growing. And so, find the silver lining, find those special moments that you can really grab onto, and enjoy your time at Alfred. I loved it. And I'm going to try to visit once visitors are allowed on campus again.
Matthew's wedding, Sydney, his wife, is not a grad, but their colors at their wedding, talk about living the brand, were purple and gold. And I think marriage, among other ways, your sock drawer has gotten upgraded, right? Among other things. So, thank you. Angus, let me pick you up now, one of our faculty in School of Art and Design.
Hi, Mark. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
I apologize for not picking up earlier. You caught me driving home from work, coming home from campus. I was listening to Pearl and Elizabeth in my ear. And first of all, I'd love to say hi to Elizabeth and Pearl. When Mark sent me the invite for this meeting, I was delighted to hear he had invited these two alumni. They're just, out of this world, and what they've done in the field of design and social justice and working with folks, it's outrageous. We've had them both back to campus. We're so excited about their careers. I'm personally a big fan, and they're my role models. But I want to echo what Elizabeth said. Every year, the glass department goes for the Glass Olympics. It was started by me and myself and Owen Braden from Wisconsin River Falls. And we get like 12 or 13 schools together, and we celebrate glass, and we have competitions, and we laugh, we share each other's work, and we talk about each other's programs. It's one of the best networking events for my students. And it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like a conference. It feels like a kind of a bash or whatever. But one year, our students were presenting our program and talking about our teachers and talking about our shops. And they said this one sentence. They said, everybody has. And the whole auditorium, like 130 people were just like, what are you talking about? Because like Elizabeth said, you're not that aware of the access to faculty, the access to facilities, the sort of the Hamlet feel, which is, you know, like you could look at that in many ways, but it's precious. And I appreciate the students that are calling in tonight, and I appreciate the parents, because the next 3 weeks, the next 2 weeks are so important for us to sort of like renew our Netflix accounts and answer the emails to your professors, please. And so it's like it's like this. It's the students. I have amazing students. I'm aware of that. I have sculpture and glass. We have full classes with waiting lists. It's incredible in a pandemic, and I think because of it, it's because of the Alfred, the what we do here. We pick up the phone and we worry about our students. I'm already like seeing my students, and I want to run over to them and chat with them, but you know, if you know, I want to take our time and just ease into this semester. So I'm hopeful, and I appreciate what the administration and the cabinet has done. A strong feeling is that we've done a really good job preparing for this moment. Now it's for the students to answer the call and sign the pledge.
Thanks, Angus.
Cheers.
Cheers. We've got another member of the Board of Trustees, a class of 1972, accounting degree, played lacrosse for us. He chairs the finance committee of the board. Started off with PwC, one of the current Big Four accounting firms, and has had a very distinguished career as a controller, as a CFO of outfits like UTC, Sikorsky Aircraft, Black & Decker. Still serves on many corporate boards, has been very generous with his time in helping to recruit students, in helping to mentor students. So Jay Haberl and he splits his time between Florida, Maine, and Southern California. Where are you today, in Maine? And you're still muted, Jay. Hey, Jay, you're muted.
You know, I spend a lot of time on these meetings, and you would think I'd be smart enough to know to unmute myself before I speak. We're actually in the coast of Maine, Mark. We are going to stay here until this virus is done or we have an effective vaccine. We're certainly not going back to Los Angeles or to Florida. I actually wasn't really prepared for this. I came to listen to Hinman and to Matthew and our distinguished art alums, but this has been a very interesting experience. I'd like to say just a couple things. One, I want everybody to understand that the safety of the students, faculty, staff are the primary concern of the Board of Trustees. Mark is a tough taskmaster, and he's had us working very hard to make sure that we can pull that off, and we've got our fingers firmly crossed. I have 3 Zoom meetings tomorrow, courtesy of Mark, so he's tough. You know, when I graduated in 1972, I thought I did a lot of things, but for the time I've been on the board, I realized that I barely scratched the surface in terms of what is available at Alfred and what an interesting place it is. So I would echo the words of the other alums in terms of taking advantage of all the opportunities that are there, because it's a great place and there's a lot of stuff you can do, and also recognize that this is some of the best time for students, some of the best you know, period of your life, and enjoy it and have fun. I think I'm sure I'm the oldest person on this call. I'll be 70 in November, and you know, I look back and remember fondly the 4 years that I spent at Alfred. I just wish I'd done a little more at times. So that's really what I have. I think that I encourage everybody to as Angus said, communicate with your profs and enjoy yourselves. That we will get through this. None of us have ever seen anything like this before, but we will get through it. And I think you can enjoy it, even though it's unusual. And in a year or so, you can have something very interesting to tell people. So best of luck to everybody.
Thanks, Jay. Nathan Costanzo asked, how can I volunteer for the local fire department? We'll get you that information. We have an all-volunteer fire department. Its distinction is it has more PhDs per capita on staff than any other fire department. and they're always in the market for volunteers, students, faculty, staff. It's a great learning experience, community building experience. So we'll get to the details. You're not the oldest, Jay. I don't know if I can recruit him, but Gary Ostrower I saw on the call, member of the class in 1961. Gary, are you game? And a distinguished member of our history faculty.
I was going to thank Gary for being there.
How about Brian Stryker? Brian, I also saw you on the call earlier. He's an alum of ours and also our swimming and diving coach. He's in the Alumni or the Athletic Hall of Fame, as are several other family members. So, Brian, are you reachable right now? I've got you on mute. Okay, maybe listening at a distance.
Mark, I put my email address in there for Nathan. He can reach out to me and I'll help him get connected with the fire department.
Thanks a lot.
Sure. There's also a question from Patty that I responded to, but I wanted to call attention to it. Patty asked if she would be able to take her child to a doctor's appointment for a specialist in Rochester, and the answer to that is yes.
Very good medical center there. Any other questions or any observations? Reveal as the Student Senate President, or Brad, Bradley as the former Student Senate President, any words, pearls of wisdom?
Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Bradley. I've had many positions on the Student Senate Executive Board. I have been the president, I have been the finance chair, and now I'm the treasurer in my senior year. My majors are mathematics and physics, and it has been amazing, my time at Alfred. And it's amazing that, everyone is here tonight, meeting, alumni and everything. It's great to hear your stories and what you've been doing and everything. As far as pearls of wisdom, I guess I would agree with everyone else in saying, take advantage of what's there. Like, it wasn't until later on in my first year that I really got into activities and stuff at Alfred. And I've toured all of our different facilities. I talk to people who are seniors now, and they don't even know that we have an observatory. So it's, it's interesting to know how people can go through without even really experiencing everything. So I would second experiences, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, former Student Senate President, still a student senator.
Mark, there's another question from Eliza about federal work study opportunities. I know that we're in the process right now of reviewing all the job descriptions. They're supposed to be completed by August 31st. Any of them that are completed before that, the word will get out, and any of them completed on that date, students will be able to start on September 7th.
And we received a second volunteer for the Hook and Ladder Company from Amelia Smith, so they're going to be tickled pink. So most successful Zoom call in terms of volunteers yet. We've got one dean on the call, Lauren Lake, who's a newbie. She just arrived in July. Our School of Art and Design dean came from Texas with her family and can attest to her car didn't move out of their driveway for 14 days after they arrived. So very religious about adhering to the quarantine. Been working with the faculty. Art and design is a very hands-on field, so making sure we retain that maker culture. So Lauren, any pearls of wisdom now that you're a veteran with us?
A veteran. Well, I can tell you, Bradley, I live right next to the observatory, and I can see it out my window right now. And one of the benefits of living so close to the observatory is that there's not a lot of excess light around. So a few weeks ago, I was able to see the Milky Way and to see amazing things happen that I've never seen before growing up in Florida and living in Alabama and living in Texas. And so it's really makes me think of what I think Matthew said about, or someone said about sitting still and sort of being in the moment and that time for quiet. It's a really amazing, beautiful place. And I'll just repeat, and I stole this from one of our faculty who gave an amazing presentation last week, all of our faculty have been learning from one another about best practices and lessons learned in the online learning environment. So through Canvas, I think the question came up, and we've been having learning a lot and learning from one another, which I think is really helpful. And she said, Colleen Wall, who's a professor of dance, said, invigorate what is possible. And if Angus will say, I say it all the time now. It's like it's my favorite thing to say, invigorate what is possible. This is the moment. And we are getting very prepared in the School of Art and Design today. I walked around with Jamie Babcock, our head of facilities, and our Angus, I didn't even get to tell you this, but the floor markers have arrived and the hand sanitizers are spewing lots, and signage is going up, and we are definitely hiring. I was able to talk to the Provost Dobie today, and she said that there was concern that we wouldn't have enough jobs for students, and I said, oh, absolutely not. The School of Art and Design, we are hiring. I apologize. I'm baking cookies for my assistant dean's son to send him off to school, and to welcome our new visiting faculty, Adara Willard, who's arriving tomorrow to the Cohen apartment. So I can only stay on for another second before I burn those cookies, but I'll say that we are really prepared, and I'm really excited. And today I was leaving the building at 6 o'clock, and I ran into Jonathan Hopp, and he was setting some exhibition up, and the electronic media department is things are starting to buzz and come alive, and it's really very exciting. So we can't wait to see you. We're really excited. I second what Angus says. Answer your emails. We are eager. Thanks for giving me a moment here, Mark.
Yeah, very thoughtful.
And, School of Art and Design, we're having another town hall on Friday at 3 p.m. with myself and the Assistant Dean, Dan Napolitano.
His son Noah had an Eagle Scout ceremony in their front yard earlier this evening with a classmate of his. Brian, I see you've joined us. Can we have you weigh in? Your pearl of wisdom, our swimming and diving coach.
I just gathering and bouncing off what other people have said. I don't know if everyone can hear me. I didn't have my headphones with my headset with me. But you know, I think if we can work together, like Mark has said, and get through this semester, you know, your time at Alfred University is going to be pretty special. And obviously it was so special to many of us on this call that it brought us back. And I think some of that is going to be hard work for, you know, day to day. Everybody's going to have to work hard to not want, you know, you want to get close together with everybody and be around everybody. I'm really excited to see our team. I'm really excited to have people in the pool at some point. But, you know, I think the bonds and the relationships and the community and at Alfred University in general, pretty special. And that's basically what you've heard, I think, from everybody. But, you know, I'm here if anybody needs anything, has any questions on whatever it might be when especially if it revolves around the business school or athletics or things like that. I would consider myself kind of an expert in that area. I don't know, that's about it. I think everybody's kind of hit on a lot of what I would have already said.
Thank you for joining. Nabil, have we picked you up yet? Or if you want to bat cleanup if you're there? Maybe not. Well, listen, thank you all for joining. Brian, if you could add your email to the chat room if people want to reach out to you, that'd be great.
Sure.
Suggestions from our students. We'll plan on repeating this next Wednesday at 7 p.m. If you have particular alums or faculty members that we can feature, in addition to, again, fielding questions. And in the meanwhile, any questions that come up, feel free to reach out to any of the relevant team members on our staff. But we're grateful for the alums that joined, our two trustees in particular. We will get through this. Something I shared with a couple of our faculty groups at retreats this week, a quote out of the first movie, Shrek, where I watched it with my youngest son over the weekend and actually had a really good night's sleep after I watched the movie Shrek. When I'm watching CNN late at night, I don't sleep so well later in the night. But there's this wonderful scene where Shrek and his sidekick, the donkey, are heading to the castle that has the fire-breathing dragon. And the castle's surrounded by a moat with molten lava gurgling up, and they're crossing on a rickety bridge to get to the castle across the moat. And the fundamental words of advice to the donkey is, don't look down. So we got to keep our eyes on the prize, keep focused on creating the future. It's a challenging time, but we're up to it. And so the more each of us can help protect the Lux, we will make it. So thank you for being willing to make a difference. We're excited to get the energy back. It's already great to have some students back on campus. I saw Lee earlier on the Zoom, among others. So stay safe. Safe travels to campus over the coming days. And we're looking forward to working with our students. And our fundamental mission is transforming student lives and bettering our world. So let's stay at it. And wish you all the best for the rest of the evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
Bye.